Hello, and welcome to the podcast on a couch where we sit on a 40-ounce stained couch with cigarette burns in it in the middle of the hood. This is your gang lieutenant, Bran, and I am joined by the drug smuggling contact, Geo.
Hello.
And I am joined by our arms expert, Jeanne.
Hi.
And we are just chilling out in our gang HQ with nothing but a bunch of roaches and foaties and our Glocks tucked into our waistbands because we want to talk about gang games and specifically Saints Row, because Saints Row just had a revival recently, and we figured it would be a good time to talk about it. So, what do you guys have as far as your history goes with Saints Row and other games like it?
Geo?
Well, I was introduced to Saints Row the year it came out, or Saints Row 3 the year it came out. I was already very experienced with Grand Theft Auto, which is the obligatory series that it always gets compared to. I started with Saints Row 3, and I loved it to no end. It was like one of my favorite games for that whole year. And then I played the fourth game, and then I kind of fell out of it after the fourth game for for various reasons.
The same reasons literally everyone did.
Kind of everyone. A lot of people share that resolve. I think I think everyone came back together for the revival. And I still have not tried it, but I have heard some less than savory things about it.
Really?
It looks okay.
Would you hear about?
Well,
I heard it was. I heard it. I mean, I heard what anyone hears about any video game that comes out, which is that it looks unfinished.
No.
Oh, that's a low-hanging fruit.
The criticism literally every game gets.
Yeah, exactly.
Or not, it's true.
All right, well, Jeanne, what's your history with gang games and Saints Row?
I actually, thinking back, I actually played GTA 2, which is which is before most people ever even knew it existed. And I was
You're old.
How dare you?
I played the.
But
did you ever play the Grand Theft Auto Game Boy Advance game?
Was it on Game Boy Advance?
There was a Grand Theft Auto. I think it was.
Oh,
it
Vice, the
Vice
China,
City, maybe. Or that
was Chinatown Wars or something like that.
Something like that. It was.
That was kind of a throwback to the old ones, because 1 and 2 were actually top down, like really just goofy, not serious at all, wacky shoot 'em up.
Was it 3 or Vice City that brought in 3D and everything?
3 came before Vice City, I'm pretty sure.
Did it?
Yeah.
I don't quite remember.
Yeah, it was GTA 3 was the first installment that was 3D, and then Vice City came like a year or two after. But yeah, I think my older brother pirated the game, which is basically how I played everything when I was a kid.
Okay.
Don't tell anybody though.
When did you get introduced to Saints Row?
I did not play the first one, but I did play the second one. I don't know. I remember seeing the first one, and I was just like, "Oh, it's GTA 3 again."
That's actually what
tracks.
turned me away. That actually turned me away from the second game. Is that I was. I don't think this was back then during Blockbuster. I think it was after. But I remember a friend at high school telling me, "Oh, it's just like GTA," and I was like, "Oh, that's not a ringing endorsement."
In a
definitely
post-Blockbuster world.
But I feel like it was definitely heavily inspired by GTA. I don't think we can even.
So
otherwise.
I played GTA 4, and that was a big game for me, and because Saints Row 3 came out between 4 and 5.
Yeah, GTA 4 was the first one I actually bought myself and played to completion, because
that's actually one of the first games that I wouldn't say 100%ed, but I got every ending I possibly could.
No.
Which I think isn't there only like 2, but
Yeah, I think there's
whopping 2.
There's at least 2, and it's just like the bad ending or the really bad ending.
the trust the cops or don't trust the cops ending, if I recall correctly.
Something like that. I just know one of the endings pretty much. Well, actually, no. I think all of your friends get killed no matter what you do. So it's just.
Spoiler
that's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it's a very well written story, I would say.
I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
Typically, the stories are written pretty well for GTA games, even though I don't really have much history with them. So, I've watched enough GTA games. I've never actually bought or played them because, I don't know, I'm just somebody who doesn't really like things that are very rooted in realism. And it's just like, oh, I get to run around the city, popping caps and beating up people and everything. I watched my friends do this plenty at like sleepovers when I was a kid, and I just had no interest. I'd rather go and zap aliens and mash zombies.
Yeah, GTA's a very cynical.
Very dry.
Yeah.
If you want a very dramatic experience, play Simpsons Hit and Run.
That is they did try to mimic the GTA thing with that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
That game only exists because of GTA.
I thought that game was a fever dream for the longest time. I thought I dreamed it up. That I was like, oh yeah, it's Homer Simpson, but in like Grand Theft Auto engine.
Yeah.
No, it's a real thing that actually happened.
It's like going to the AI, the image AI, and typing in Simpson Homer in GTA. Like, oh, it already exists though.
Someone goes to bed at night thinking, I made that game. I was a part of something greater than myself, and it's the Simpsons Hit and Run. Somebody goes and hits on women at a bar, and that's like their lead. Hey, did you ever play the Simpsons Hit and Run? Yeah, I was the lead programmer for that.
But Marge, the pips and the pushers are chasing me.
You wanna go back to my place for a Simpsons Hit and Run?
But Marge, I want to go to Burger Shot.
Marge, they're all out of freckle bitches.
I love the brands in GTA. I'm sorry, we keep bringing up GTA and not Saints Row.
Well, Saints Row has some great ones too. But you were going to say something, Jeanne?
I was gonna say the Simpsons Hit and Run doesn't have anything on just the stupid mods that people have made for GTA though.
Oh yeah, one of my favorites is seeing GTA turn into Bikini Bottom, where you have CJ showing up as SpongeBob and Big Smoke as Patrick and shit.
There's a similar mod for the Spider-Man game that just came out, where CJ is Spider-Man. And they didn't even model anything for the web shooters either, so there's just web coming out of his arm.
That's another funny thing. They keep modding CJ into games rather than modding like Spider-Man as CJ.
Have you seen the one with they modded CJ into Stray?
Yes.
That's the winner, honestly.
That's a fever dream, is what that is.
I saw the meme about how CJ's in Spider-Man, but they showed like the old mods where they're putting Spider-Man into GTA.
Yep.
Yeah, the comparison.
It's pretty good.
This is why you port games to PC, folks.
Yeah, and also port it to PC and call it a PC port and don't call it a remaster, but that's another podcast episode.
I think we need legal definitions for that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But you mentioned something about the branding in these kinds of games, and Saints Row had some really good ones. The go-to that I quoted when I was doing my Homer impression, it was Marge, I want to get a fun bag from Freckle Bitches. I was like 11, I think, or whenever Saints Row 1 came out, and that's like one of the first things you do as part of the tutorial is you go to Freckle Bitches because Johnny Gat wants a fun bag.
Is that... I thought that was GTA. I get them mixed up. Was that in Saints
I
Row?
know Freckle Bitches was in Saints Row, and GTA has
I'm gonna fact check
I
you
remember they
live.
had Cluck and Bell. And I
Uh,
remember it was the funniest thing when I was like a wee
Oh, you're
baby
right.
when my friends played San Andreas because they were like, cluckety fuck, I might take your order.
No, you're right. That was Saints Row. You got it. Yeah,
Cluck
yeah,
and
I
Bell
remember it
versus
now.
Burger Shot. Who would win?
Although
I don't know.
I
Wait,
feel like
what's Burger
overall,
Shot?
Burger Shot's like I think it's literally Burger King.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
'Cause it
like
has
GTA?
that's GTA's
Oh,
Burger
okay.
King. I always, I don't know. I feel like Saints Row has always been more clever with the names of the fake companies in their worlds.
Yeah,
'Cause, although I will say, Liquor Hole is probably
That's a good one.
holy
like that
shit.
there's a bar
Holy
called
shit.
the Liquor Hole.
Wow.
What does that mean?
I think it's a hole where you pour liquor into.
Oh, okay. That
Um,
sounds harmless.
Yeah, I don't know.
When a when a when a criminal and a prostitute love each other very much, there is a transaction, and then after the transaction, you kill them to get your money back.
This just in: man beaten to death with the penetrator in the liquor hole.
Jesus.
You're mixing game worlds now.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, we're
That'd be the best
we're doing
crossover.
the ultimate crossover. So
I mean,
anyway, my
The penetrator should be in every video game. Let's be real here.
yeah, that should be in there. Just big old purple dildo that you swat people with. So my experiences with the games, I never played much of GTA. Wasn't really interested in it. But Saints Row, I played the demo when it was launched on Xbox 360, and I played that all night at a friend's sleepover, and it was just the most magical thing to me for some reason.
That was Saints Row 1.
Yeah, for Saints Row 1, and then as soon as I could, I bought Saints Row 1, played the full game. Saints Row 2 came out, I creamed my high school jeans and played the shit out of that. And then Saints Row 3 came out. I
You
also
creamed
played
your
Saints
adult
Row.
jeans.
Yeah, I played it. I wasn't that into it, but I was like, oh, cool. You know, I got my hands on it and stuff. And it was okay. It was fine. And then I heard about Saints Row 4 and I saw the materials for it and I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? This isn't what I started playing the game for. This is it would have made a fine superhero movie, but just like I came for the gang violence, god damn it.
If three would be described as like balancing the line between serious and surreal, and then 4 basically takes a nosedive.
It takes the
Into the
penetrator
surreal.
to itself.
Oh yeah. Like I grew so when I first played 3, I was pretty much fresh off of GTA 4, which is a mostly serious game. There's some caricatures, there's some over eccentric characters and such, but it was generally a pretty serious game and it had like a very good story.
Yeah.
And then Saints Row 3 like on its own is just a very silly game. I mean,
Yeah.
you one of the first things that the game opens up with is you're robbing this bank, and one of the people that you're robbing wants to get an autograph from
Oh
you.
yeah, because the Saints are kind of famous at that point.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they've become famous so much that the people love them, even though they are ruthless criminals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then also one of the first missions is where you got to rescue all the hoes from a container ship, and as you're rescuing them from the container ships, you kind of have to play like Jack in the Box with which ones have them and which ones don't. And one of the ones you open up, it has a fuck machine in it, and I opened that up and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And then you open up another one and it's got like a Hulk fist on it instead of just a normal dildo.
Yeah.
It's profound. It's gross.
I don't know. Like, I used to think it was funny. Now I just think it's kind of eh. It's like
It's childish humor. It's low hanging fruit.
it feels like it feels like the game was made by like a 12-year-old.
It's like silly humor, you know. When you do it at the time, it's kind of funny, but then it loses its taste after a few laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
It doesn't last, but it, like I said, I feel like nowadays if I played Saints Row 3, I probably wouldn't be as into it. I'd just be like, oh, that's okay. But coming out of like a very serious GTA game, I'd say very serious. It wasn't like hard hitting, but going from that into something that's like very like silly and wacky, I think that's why I enjoyed it so much as a younger lad.
Geo, that's part of the reason why, like, I pointed out what I did with how the progression goes. So, the whole progression of Saints Row and its tone overall
The
is,
series, right?
yeah, as the whole series is that it starts off as like, okay, it's its own gangster game trying to find its way and make its self known. Then it progresses into Saints 2, where it really found its groove between the wacky and surreal stuff and the gritty stuff that was like the gang drama, right? And then
Yeah.
Saints Row 3 is too much of the childish, wacky shit. And then Saints Row 4, it like did a hit of Molly and went into a party.
Saints Row has one of the weirdest like tone trajectories I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
Well, another thing you mentioned about how it's about the gang, I think it's worth mentioning that Grand Theft Auto they aren't really gang games. Like
No.
your characters that you play in each game are kind of just like freelance criminals.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like
That's a good point.
there's never like a character I mean, I might be wrong. I can never think of a character like protagonist that's like in a gang and works with the gang like Saints Row does.
Yeah, you're right. Saints Row does focus more on like the gang element of like
It has a
warring
focus.
gangs of criminals.
Grand Theft Auto is the best at making you feel like you're the only one you can count on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Whereas in Saints Row you have Johnny Gat right next to you being Johnny Gat.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
what were you going to say?
No, if you have something to add to this, I was going to change the topic. So go
Oh,
ahead.
well, what I was gonna say is like the way the game like starts out. So in Saints Row 1, you start out as like some random schmo on the side of the street, and you actually get caught up in like some gang violence crossfire stuff. And because you're just some schmo and you see like, oh, I got pushed around, but these gangs, they were able to kind of help each other out and stuff. That's when you like go and seek out the Saints. And
Oh.
the Saints are an already existing organization. It's like, you know how in GTA you have all those gangs out there, but you're not really running a gang yourself. You actually
No.
become part of it in Saints Row. You get hazed and you're like following the gang structure and getting to know who does what within it too. And then that's where you have like the branching storylines with like, oh, Dex was like with the rollers, or not he was with them, but he always like kept track of the rollers. And then you had these other people do this. You had Gat keep track of the kings, and all that stuff. And then so there was some of that continuity there. And what happened at the end of Saints Row 1, as far as the story goes, is you got ratted out by somebody within the Saints, and they tried to kill you.
Oh, that's right. Isn't it? Doesn't 2 start with you like basically coming out of the hospital after almost dying or something?
You were comatose, and they
Yeah.
removed the bandages from your face so that you can justify having your character changed.
Yeah, see, that didn't make any sense to me because I didn't play the previous one. I just assumed
Yep.
something very bad happened.
Yes,
I
that's
like-
what happened.
I like the idea that you get severely damaged and then you come out the hospital looking entirely like a different person.
Did
Oh no, he's hot!
Yeah, exactly.
so I never thought about it, but it is weird that there is continuity even all the way up into three and 4 because the character you play is still supposed to be the same character that was in all
Yeah.
the other previous
Yep.
games.
Which
You rise up to be the leader.
that's part of the reason why it's so infuriating to see that tone trajectory like nosedive like it did, because you're like, what the fuck? I invested so much into all these stories. I got to see Burt Reynolds, which kind of softened the blow of the nothing burger that Saints 3 was. And then it's like all of a sudden the people of Volition are like, I don't know what fucking happened yesterday, but let's just ship it.
So you start as a lowly criminal in the first game, and then by the fourth game you're the leader of the free world.
Yes.
That's so funny. It's funny, but it's I understand how it's frustrating.
Yeah, it'd be like making your character in Mass Effect, and then by episode 3, the game's basically turned into Battle for Bikini Bottom.
You gotta get another golden spatula to fend off the Reapers.
Mass Effect 5, you have to beat the Reapers in a wet t-shirt contest.
And then this is supposed to be the same character that started out in the first game. And you're just like, how did I get here?
Exactly.
That's very funny to think about now.
So when you put all that into perspective, it's kind of justified why people got so pissed by the time 4 came out. And, there are some other things about 4 that are like insult to injury, like how it was originally supposed to be a DLC. Like, god damn it. You guys just got greedy.
4 was so disappointing.
I played quite a bit of 4, and I agree with the DLC notion. Like, it definitely seems like it was supposed to be DLC for the third game. Yep. Because isn't the map just the third game's map, but slightly edited?
I think slightly is pretty generous.
Being generous?
I can't remember a time where I tried harder to get my funds worth out of a game because I bought it with my hard-earned money.
Oh boy.
Like, I was trying so hard to have fun with it, and I still never beat it.
I usually rate it by like $1 an hour. So if it's a $60 game, you need to put like at least 60 hours in it for it to be worth the money. I didn't put that much in Saints Row 4, sorry to say.
I hope there's exceptions to that rule, because that's a dangerous fallacy to get wrapped up in.
That is true.
I feel like, but
that is true.
Jeanne, it's funny you brought that up, because the game that I did that with, as a quick tangent, did you ever know about the game called Too Human?
I've heard of it.
Geo, do you know Too Human?
I never played it.
Okay, it was an over-the-shoulder third-person like shooter action game that was made by Silicon Knights, and it was really hyped up, and it ended up under-delivering hard. And the fighting was kind of janky, and like it dropped loot so much that like getting rare drops meant nothing. It was like it was such a strange game, and I played the shit out of that game because I followed it, and I was like, oh man, I'm ready for this to come out, and then I spent my hard-earned money on it. And then it ended up being kind of meh, and I'm like, I'm going to keep playing this because I spent all this time getting ready for it and spending my money, and then by the time I was done, I'm like, get this fucking thing away from me.
I don't know if there's a more miserable gaming experience than one where you're forcing yourself to enjoy something because you paid money for it.
Yeah. Oh man.
I remember doing that as a kid, where like I got my mom to buy me something and then I didn't like it, but it's like, I better like this. It cost $40 or something.
That was fucking Fable 3 as well for me. Similar timing.
Well, that's a different topic, because I actually enjoy Fable 3.
What's wrong with you?
I think it's on the list. That should be an interesting one.
We'll do a Fable episode, everybody.
That's yeah. Well,
that's
you were saying.
I think you go through like the stages of denial when you spend money on a game.
Yep, you really do.
And it doesn't turn out the way it did.
Yeah.
And it's worse now than it used to be, because the price of AAA titles is like it keeps trying to rise. Like, I think now they're wanting to sell games at like $65 or $70 now.
Yeah.
That's why everything comes with a silver and gold edition when it comes out.
Oh,
I think
God.
I think the last Resident Evil game did that, where you can't just buy it on its own. You can only buy, and this is on Steam. You can only buy it in conjunction with another like Resident Evil game they made, and
Dude.
it's priced at $70.
Dude, I wanted to fucking puke when I walked into Best Buy to pick up Saints Row for my PS5 because it said Day One Edition, and I was just like, ah!
Hey, you know what Day One Edition means? It means it's full of bugs because it hasn't had the Day One patch yet.
It is crazy though, because I got some like really old like gaming magazines around, like really old, like
Ooh.
Like Game
From, like-
Informer, or
yes,
Electronic Gaming Monthly?
some of those, and it's crazy to look back and see like, oh, Duke Nukem, $60 in like the 90s.
Ooh, that was pretty steep back then, adjusted for inflation.
So while they are trying to get more money, there have been things that have definitely cost a lot more over the years, because
yeah.
it's definitely hasn't kept up with inflation, at least not yet, as much as they want it to be.
Well,
Yeah.
what is Saints Row, the new Saints Row remake? What's that priced at now? Is that $60?
I think I paid $60 for it, and then I had tax added to it. Yeah, so it's still running at your basic like 60, and then
they have
yeah.
I think they have the 2 additional like editions that come with like some extra stuff.
The deluxe edition, and then the
And then,
super
like,
deluxe
the
edition.
super
and then the
deluxe
fuck
or
you
gold or
bitch
whatever.
deluxe edition that's like on a fucking spreadsheet somewhere in a
Yeah.
Ubisoft website for promotions.
The
For 20
collector's
extra
edition,
dollar-
$300.
For $20 extra, you can get the soundtrack, and then for $50 extra, we can get you a $5 tote bag that's modeled
Listen.
after the game.
If you give us $300, we'll give you a 3D printed impression of Johnny Gat's asshole.
For $300, you can see Johnny Gat's rectum.
I'd buy that.
I
It's
could
a
see them
pencil
doing
holder.
like
It's a pencil holder.
I could see
No.
it's an armrest. I could see them doing like a $200 deluxe edition, and they give you like a model of like Johnny Gat's eyeglasses. Or sunglasses.
Wear your
whatever.
own pair of Johnny Gat glasses. Oh my god.
Don't be a fool, be a gat.
Yeah.
Don't give them ideas.
Yeah, I want the mouse pad where the little wrist rest is his butt.
Yeah,
Johnny Gat's
exactly.
butt.
No, it would be his pecs because his face would be on the pad. Don't you know anything about those?
Ooh, pecs would be good too. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be his chin?
Oh my god, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a big cleft chin.
I totally
have the
forgot
butt
about that. Oh my god, speaking
itself.
of Saints of the new Saints game, Jeanne and I have been playing it. I've been having a blast with it. It is, to me, so far from what I've played, is the exact return to form that the franchise needed. It needed to be rebooted so that they could have the creative freedom to do what they need to make a solid game. It has the personality and the soul of 1 and 2 for the most part, and it still feels fresh because, oh my god, the setting that they put it in, it's like this like Las Vegas setting, and
That's really cool.
Freaking kudos to that because I haven't seen that too often, so
It's kind of
yeah.
surprising we haven't seen much of that.
Yeah.
It's
You know
such
what
a cool setting.
You know what I have seen in the new Saints Row game that I don't think I've ever seen in any of these GTA type games? You can actually limit your speed limit in a vehicle. And a lot of people were complaining about that, like why would you ever want to go very slow? But I'm just like, no, you don't understand. I could drive the speed limit now.
Yeah, you could do a little bit of role play if you want.
when I was a kid playing like GTA Vice City, I used to like drive like the speed limit around just to be like a normal dude, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to do it.
I've
But
done that.
there was something fun about it.
Yeah, me
Had
too.
the serotonin.
I, as someone who played the second game, I would actually argue that they did the balance of like the silly and serious stuff even better than in
did they?
2. I feel like it. There's a lot more sincerity and stuff going on behind all the wacky, crazy stuff. Like, the 4 main characters basically just start out as like roommates, and they got like different jobs, and then
They're
they
all-
end up forming the gang. Because this is set. So in the reboot, which I've never been a big fan of reboots until like Tomb Raider showed me that a reboot can actually make a better game than the original.
Right.
In this reboot, this is actually before the Saints gang has ever even been formed, and you're the ones that form it. So that's kind of a cool take.
So the story is actually different. It's not even like it's like just a retelling. It is a retelling of the same story.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like all different characters. Some of them kind of resemble they're kind of like adjacent to characters that existed before, I feel like, but they're really like their own things.
Well, and that's the thing, Jeanne, is that throughout the whole series, you always had someone who was the brains. You always had someone who was kind of like full of themselves. Yep. And you always had somebody who was kind of like aloof. No, like aloof. Because what I think of is how in Saints Row 2 you had Shaundi, Shaundi. Yep. She was like like a hippie chick and stuff. She's like, I don't care. Like, she's always high all the time. Yeah, but she gets wrapped up with the fucking Jamaican dudes in Stillwater, so...
The weed humor got pretty old, but that's just my personal...
Oh, yeah.
Weed's not funny.
Yeah, I just... Well, you're right, Gio. You're right, Gio. There is, like, a character that's the muscle, but that's typically the character that you play.
Yep.
You're like,
okay.
And that's how they... In the newest game, that's how it's portrayed. You're the one that just goes around
murders everybody.
So if I'm gonna play the game, I want to be like a buff dude and have like a Scottish or Russian accent.
Do they?
Saints Row 3, I think, had a Scottish accent.
What accents do they have? What are the choices?
I have opinions on the voice work for the main character in this new one.
Yeah. There are some accents, but some of them are better than others.
Yeah.
Is it all like the same white guy doing different races?
No. They actually got different voice actors.
It's not that bad.
Well, so here's the thing. What I initially wanted to do, because I like this Las Vegas setting, I kind of wanted to try like doing a yeehaw cowgirl kind of thing. And the southern accent is the fakest ass southern accent. It sounds like the woman that they hired to do the voice wasn't like naturally southern, and there was like, hey, can you do a southern accent pretty well? She's like, well, sure I can. And I'm like, it took me out so bad.
As the resident expert of the South, I would like to judge this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the male voices. There's 4. I think there's 4 choices for like male and female.
Yeah.
Voices.
There's 8 in total.
Yeah. I will say the southern one stood out to me as probably like the weakest performance, but I felt like the rest of them were really good, and there is a ton of like dialogue in the game, so it's kind of impressive that they did 8 voice actors, because there's like, you go off and do a little side mission, there might be like just little quips and stuff, unique quips to that side mission that your character says while you're like shooting at people. Like there's one where there's these the idols. They're one of the gangs in the newest game. They're like trashing up this like park area in the desert, and then someone hires you to go out and shoot them because they're littering. And
that's a good reason.
Yeah, and as you're like popping people, you're like, this is what you get for littering and stuff like that. It's like that was just a little side mission. It's completely optional. And
So
there was like a bunch of unique little quips in it. I thought that was really cool.
you bringing that up actually pointed out something very different from the rest of the Saints story that is different from the previous entries to this reboot. So, in the previous entries, like, you were hard ass criminals. You did everything for spreading your influence and getting your power and your money. In
Yeah.
Saints Row 1 and Saints Row 2, you took revenge on people that wronged you or stole from you. Saints Row 3 is still kind of a blur, so I don't quite remember what the overall thing was for that. I think you like, whatever, fuck it. So
It was definitely a blur.
What's
yeah,
Saints Row 3?
yeah.
Saints Row 3, you rob a bank of this. I think it's called the Syndicate, and it's 3 gangs that have joined up.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
essentially, you start to have a turf war with them, and they have a lot of interesting things in there. Like
they drain like all of your money, and basically you have to start back from nothing. Pretty much, you have to rebuild. Is basically how they justify like.
It was like a
Going through
hostile
the whole-
takeover of your finances, right?
Yep.
It's like a big gang versus a big gang, essentially.
And then the entire thing is just like a giant revenge mission.
All of it is still like very bloodthirsty, right? Very bloodthirsty,
Yes.
very selfish in theming. The brand new Saints Row is like, these guys make themselves out to be Robin Hoods, and that's kind of refreshing to see as well. But that's also because Jeanne, you and we're a couple of good beans. We like good guy stories.
Yes.
See, I'm the opposite. I like being a cruel asshole.
In other words, you always join the Dark Brotherhood whenever you start an Oblivion character.
I think
actually,
stories can be good, but
believe it or not, no. But yeah, I like being a cruel. I like it in story-driven games mostly, when you can be like that flawed asshole. That's why I like BioWare games, where you have the option of being a cruel person and being able to justify it. I'm not the kind of person who just goes around killing people innocently, although that is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, would you say that Saints Row 3, Saints Row the remake / remaster
Which is just called
/
Saints
retelling,
Row.
would you say the story's more interesting when you start as a founder versus just being a regular schmo?
Yeah. I mean,
think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Because I think about that, I'm just like, well, just starting as a founder, that's one thing, but I like the original sound where it's just you're just this average dude who joins a gang and rises up through the ranks.
Yeah. That's how it was in Saints Row 1.
I mean, in the remake, it's basically you're just average dudes, but you start the gang yourself.
Yeah.
Which I feel like makes like
just a couple of dudes saying, "Let's start crimes."
Well, okay, so a little bit of context around that. Everybody that you're roommates with and friends with has a gang connection because they're on hard times too. You guys are barely scraping resources together. And so you have one of them that's with the Panteros, you have one of them that's with the Idols.
Yep.
And then I don't know if the other one's like with anybody else, but
he is with the Business Skull.
Oh, okay. So
he's the only one that was like trying to be legitimate because he had an education.
So it's like everybody there is a small-time criminal because they can't like keep up with their loans and their rent payments, all the harsh expenses of life. And
they're just they're just college dorm students, really.
Pretty much. That's almost how they play them off.
Yeah. And like your main character is a part of a corporate job and stuff too as a contractor, and so then it's like, okay, well, instead of all of us being off with one of our gangs or whatever and trying to make things work with them separately, why don't we just condense everything together because shit's gone tits up and we need to we know the ins and outs of small time crime. Why don't we just try and monopolize on it? And so
Yeah.
the theme of all of this Saints Row remake is building your empire, which is
Yeah.
not necessarily something that you really had that much depth in doing with the previous games. In Saints Row 2, you had to rebuild the Saints because all the Saints thought you fucking died. And so you did that, and like you had your Saints customization and everything that you did too, but it wasn't really like setting up the different criminal ventures you got, like where you're smuggling drug money and stuff like that. They didn't go into that detail. It was just, oh, minigame activity here. There's none of that context to it. So it's really cool. I like how they executed on that.
I will say the Robin Hood aspect that you described, that actually fits better with the story going into like something like Saints Row 3, where everybody's your biggest fan. It's like I said earlier, you're a hardened criminal, but if you have this Robin Hood complex and you try to give back to the poor, that makes sense why they like you.
Yeah.
So there's like different moments where they're like where they trying to remember, like they mostly like try to just go after like, oh, let's go rob a bank because that money's insured, and we're not like just, they don't like go to someone's house and rob them because they don't want to like mess with like the normal people just trying to get by because they're the same kind of people as them.
I like the idea.
Robbery.
I like the idea. Let's go give money back to the people, and then they go rob those people's local bank.
I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of like oh, we're just doing this to give to charity or whatever, but there is a lot of like, we're not targeting like innocent civilians and stuff.
Yeah.
We're going after like a millionaire corporation.
It's the cat burglar mentality.
Yeah,
They're not using it.
Yeah, I think one of the lines was when you go to rob a bank, it's like, oh, that's my favorite victimless crime.
yeah, that's right. And like the other thing too is like sometimes some of the things they steal isn't because they're stealing it because there's profit to be gained. They're like, oh, hey, we get to hurt the pride of one of the gangs, and then also whatever we take back from them, we can like go and donate it because we know we don't need to use this item, but they fucked over a lot of people just by being robbers and robbing from the wrong people. Let's go and give it back to people that could really appreciate it.
The way that they're like kind of petty and vengeful, but in like like a generous way is like, it really resonates with me.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, all the characters are really like, the chemistry is like really good. Like they feel like they're real people that care about each other, which I don't think I've ever gotten in any of the previous games.
Does that include your character? Like, is it just a bunch of NPCs with each other? Or okay.
Well, the main like you got like just the NPC grunt people, which I haven't seen a whole lot of interaction with them, but they do make it clear that they care about them too. There's like one of the first missions after you get the gang started is like, you show up and help them out because they botched a job and you want to get them to safety, so you like get all the cops chasing you and like run off and put yourself in danger instead. So
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and then there's like there's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of sincerity to like how showing how they care about each other. There's like without too many spoilers, there's a mission where you go to the burger place to get your friend one of the meals because it has a toy in it that they brought back. It's like a throwback toy that he never got when he was a kid because he was like an orphan.
Yeah.
So it's like,
what are you doing laughing at this poor fictional man's misfortune?
Hey, boss, I really want the Rick and Morty toy.
Hey, boss, can I get the Sonic toy? I really like Knuckles.
That actually is like legitimately like a cool little like, because they actually have like a little heartfelt conversation like, oh, I never got it when I was a kid because I was in foster care and all this stuff, and it was like it was really cool.
He asked the boss for a quarter so he can get one of those like sticky plastic hands you get in the machines, and then he just starts swinging it around at the boss's face.
So like this game also does the wacky. It does some really unconventional things where and it's not even done because it's like, oh, let's exploit these people so we can get money. No, like one of the characters legitimately is into LARPing, and they get you into LARPing, and so there's a whole like
so
LARPing
good.
side mission that's actually really really well thought out. I enjoyed it.
It's so good because your character starts out not wanting, like, not into it at all, but they do it to be nice to him.
Yeah.
But then they, like, get super into it, and then eventually they drag more and more of their friends into it. It's, like, really good. It's so good.
But it's that kind of stuff where it shows you like, wow, they really put some thought into like contextualizing and writing this in such a way that like, oh, these feel like real people. Your friends would put up with something for you, just even if they weren't super into it, they're just being nice, and then all of a sudden you're playing Pathfinder.
Yeah. This side story reminds me of the movie Role Models with Paul Rudd and Seann William Scott, where like one of the people they try to like be a role model for is into LARPing, and they don't like it, but then by the very end of the movie they're all in this grand LARPing war, and I love it so much. That does sound like a fun side quest.
Yeah, and it is a really good way to like add some funny wackiness, but also make it like make sense because it's a big funny LARPing event. It's going to be wacky and goofy.
I think it needs humor to.
Yeah, and
I think
the game is like legitimately hilarious at times.
Yeah,
like I've laughed pretty hard at that game.
That's why I do embrace like the later Saints Row games because of their silliness. Because I feel like it's like Evil Dead. It's you embrace it because of how campy it can be.
Yeah.
But there is such a thing as too much, as we saw with the fourth game.
Bran, what was the line about the sticker that you really liked?
Oh yeah, the sticker. someone's bleeding out, and they're like, "Man, don't want to get." He's like, "Getting shot wasn't worth it." And it's like, "No, we're patching you up. Besides, you're getting a sticker. Stop bitching." Because like at their apartment, they have like a good noodle sticker like system or whatever. If you do a good job or if you do a selfless act, you get to put a sticker on the wall. So they were still doing that, even though one of them's bleeding from a gunshot wound.
That was his
You're getting a sticker. Stop bitching.
I like alternatively the idea of like a swear jar. Like imagine they're just sitting there bleeding on the floor like fuck. It's like put a quarter in the jar.
I could actually just see that being in the game. I would not be surprised at all.
That does sound like
that's the kind of humor that they put in it. It's really good.
Yep, and it's in line. It's in line with what the series is known for.
Yep. Do they use any real life music in the remake? Because I know Saints Row 3 was big on that.
So the whole series has been really good about that. So
yeah.
All right, like Saints Row is the reason why like I know a lick of anything about the hip hop. And
the hip hop scene,
dude, the hip hop tracks for like the radio channels on Saints Row 1. What? Oh, are you talking shit about me?
The hip hop scene where all kids are cool, too cool for school.
Saints Row 1, Saints Row 2, like that's been a really consistent thing with Saints Row in general. Is their music libraries have been amazing, and their hip hop tracks for Saints Row 1, Saints Row 2, and even in this one, like you got Busta Rhymes, Notorious B.I.G. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Those songs play, and I just get my pasty white ass gets into it.
You start doing
it's got a really good soundtrack.
Yeah.
I love in Saints Row 3, like, say what you will about that game, because I'm sure it does have some flaws. Say what you will, there was nothing more epic than rescuing, what's her name? I forgot her name, the female.
And it has, I Need a Hero.
That was I Need a Hero. As you, like, crawl up the tower and, like, gun down the syndicate.
I will say that was
everybody.
probably the best moment in the entire game. And
Exactly.
Probably the one I can actually remember happening.
Yeah.
I always hated it too because that was an option. That was like you could either do that or chase down the bad guys at the airport.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I was
They
like-
did make a moral choice kind of.
And I have never been more glad that I chose the right option
It's
because
so
that music was so good in that
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was a really good scene.
That stuff like that is good because the closest that you got to like acknowledging some of the music was in Saints Row 2. Your character, even with their like whatever voice that you chose for them, if you started listening to the 80s songs, certain 80s songs when they played, depending on which voice that you picked, they would start like kind of like mumble lip syncing to it and stuff. So like, take on me.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, like you're like you would when you're driving for real.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a
yeah,
nice little touch. That's really cool.
I love that shit.
I can
Yeah.
imagine a side quest in the remake where you have to bring one of your gang members to like a wedding party and you all just start dancing like right foot, left stomp.
That'd be a nice
have
like
an
little mini game where you do the cha-cha slide to some
One-
quick time
yeah.
events.
One of your gang members is getting married and you have to attend the wedding party, do a speech. I would love this. I would love that. I love like the slice of life ideas of like helping your gang members out.
Oh, that's a good point. There are
Like
a
it's
lot
never
of,
like it's never like just I found a tip about this guy who has money. Let's go rob him. I like the idea where it's just like normal everyday things like, hey boss, can you help? Red Dead 2 kind of did that a lot too, where it's like you could just go drinking with one of the gang members.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I was gonna mention that they did a really good job of that in the newest game, Saints Row, because there's like a lot of the missions don't start out like they have interesting ways of starting out a lot of the missions. It's usually not like, oh, go fight these guys. It's usually like oh, you pick up the phone and like, hey, it's your turn to bring donuts to the board game night. And then you go, and then you have like a board game night, and then something happens during that sends you off to go fight some guys. And
well, that's a good way to do it because it's like it's a gang lifestyle. It's
it
not
feels
just
more organic when
it makes you feel like a family, and I think that's the best way the Saints Row can do it.
The Saints Row.
The Saints Row, TM.
Just like the Zelda and the Doom.
Yeah.
The Doom.
Is Johnny Gat in the reboot?
No. Nobody from the previous stuff is in there, and I'm really glad about that.
0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. I don't want to buy it.
I am genuinely surprised he's not in it. At least
I
not
missed
that.
that.
I've
I
seen so
missed
far,
that kooky fella and his butt chin.
because they basically treat Johnny Gat like the savior in the series.
They treat him
normally.
like God, and I don't know why.
Easter egg, the Church of Gat.
And honestly, I don't really see the appeal that much.
He's pretty
He's
cool.
alright.
He's a badass. Like he's your stereotypical badass, and he's cool. But like the way they elevated him in general in the series was just like really, really weird to me.
I guess a lot of people really liked him, is why they did that. But I don't know. He's all right.
Like in the beginning of Saints Row 3, where you have to rob a bank and you wear Johnny Gat masks.
Yes.
It's
Not even like masks. Like they're like something a mascot would wear.
It's like a
they're like the
mascot
giant foam heads or whatever.
And just like that weird spinoff that happened after Saints Row 4, Gat Out of Hell.
What the fuck even was that?
Did you say it was a DLC earlier?
I don't think it was a deal. I think it was a standalone game. I don't think it was a full-priced one, though. In that game, Johnny Gat dies, and then you go to hell to save him or something.
Is this before or after the alien invasion when your boss becomes president?
This is after. This is after.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Well,
It's very, like, I think they just ran out of ideas at that point.
speaking of running out of ideas, then you have like this other weird spin-off game. Again, it was like the franchise really did just like circle the drain, because then they did like this Crackdown knockoff with Agents of Mayhem, and I played it for like
right.
an hour, and then I realized that none of the characters that I played as mattered, because it was like, I don't know, it was like the equivalent of collecting a whole bunch of action figures. Like, you could pick anybody to play as and maybe bring one along or two along with you to help you. And you were doing, like, superhero stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, there's, like, this Saints imagery, but... Oh, this is so strange.
Yeah, that was another... I completely forgot about that, even though you literally mentioned that, like, an hour ago. And I already forgot again that it existed in that amount of time.
I just looked this up. Apparently, the universes of Saints Row connects with Red Faction.
Oh, yeah, because Red Faction was, like, the game that got Volition on the map as, like, it was, like, their first hit game. And so they make a lot of homages and references to Red Faction because of that.
They got their own Volition cinematic universe, I guess.
Because that's around the field of Deep Silver, which is a publisher that I really like, and who's actually helming the Time Splitters new game, I think. So we'll see.
Oh my God, Time Splitters. Yeah. Oh man, that's gonna have to be an episode on its own. I could go on.
Is that the one where you split the time?
No, that's the one where it's time to split.
Nice.
That is what they said, though.
Yeah.
Time to split.
Time to split.
It's time to split. Well, I guess that, funny enough, it should be time for us to split too. We're almost at time.
And then it'll be time to split Future Perfect.
What?
You said time to split 2.
2 as in also, you dingbat. That's what I meant.
I'm going to stop loving you.
Come on.
Alright, so anyway, it's time for us to head out. We gotta do a dead drop for cocaine and make sure we need to round up some hoes for the party tonight. So,
I need to go hang up my Johnny Gat poster and pray to my shrine of Johnny Gat.
Pray to,
and then go shoot some people with my Johnny Gat.
In Gat we trust. I wish I had a chin as strong as he.
Yeah.
What if his butt chin, like, just in like some fever dream sequence, just started just secreting, a little, a little poopy?
Yeah, a little dream sequence, and Johnny Gat's just looking at you. He's just like, hey, what are you looking at?
You know what? I just remembered, there actually is a gun in the game called the Johnny Gat, which is so far the only reference to him that I've seen.
Is it a pistol?
I think it's like a Tommy gun.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Get out of here.